So in this WarThunder video, we're going to be doing a little bit of a different thing, and we're going to be talking about what type of tanks I would want to see within WarThunder. Now remember this, I physically cannot add every single tank that ever existed to this video, so if there's a tank that you would want to actually be added to WarThunder, definitely leave that sort of stuff in the comment. So what I'm basing this list off is basically, does it add anything that's pretty cool to WarThunder? And I think that WarThunder has had a problem within like the last couple of years, where we've seen vehicles which are very similar to each other being added throughout each tech tree. Majority of vehicles within, the NATO or the Western style of tech trees have something on the lines of a 105 or a 120, and they basically play the same. And I want something that can play a little bit differently within the tech tree that it goes to, and that would be cool to get as an event vehicles or even within the tech tree itself. So if you like these types of videos, remember to like and sub to the channel. It is very much appreciated. And on to the video. So the first tank on this list is an American tank, which is the T69. The T69 is a vehicle that is going to be very similar to the back chat within the French tree, and it's probably going to be at a battle rating of 7.3 to 7.7, and maybe even 8.0 if it does become good enough, with especially like the Heat FS that the back chat does not have. This vehicle I think would be very interesting as actually a tech tree vehicle, because we already have the T54E1 for the Americans as a premium, and this gives a new playstyle whenever it comes to Americans. You finally get a auto-loading tank within the tech tree that's able to do probably really well, because the back chat, at least for me, for the French tree, is one of my favorite tanks within the game right now. And it would be really cool to actually see more of these oscillating tanks for America and more prototypes just in general come to the tech tree. And in my honest opinion, the T69 will probably be a wonderful tank to be added to WarThunder. So the next vehicle on this list is in the Soviet Union, and that is the Su-101 and the Su-102. So both of these vehicles are very similar, and that's why I'm putting them together, because really the only main difference is the gun that they use. The Su-101 uses a 100mm, while the Su-102 uses a 122mm. So I do believe both of these vehicles should be added to the Russian tech tree, but the only problem is that Russia already has an abundance of 6.3 tank destroyers within the game, and both of these vehicles I think would fit nicely at 6.3 or even 6.0, just depending on how they do within the game. But since we already have stuff like the ASU-85 and stuff like the Su-100P, these tank destroyers really do not serve a purpose because there's already an oversaturation of them. But I do feel like adding these vehicles to game would give a different playstyle at the 6.3 bracket, being that you actually have some sort of armor whenever it comes to these tank destroyers. Like the Su-100P and the ASU-85, both of those vehicles can be pinned by pretty much anything within the game, and that you have to play them kind of like scout vehicles. I believe the ASU-85 even has scouting, and it would be a change of pace whenever it comes to these 6.3 tank destroyers. Now the way this tank is designed with the casemate towards the back of the tank, so it makes the frontal of the tank actually pretty armored if you think about it. Now maybe you won't be able to bounce some stuff like 128s and stuff like that, but maybe since the engine is in the front of this tank, you'll be able to eat some rounds and maybe you'll be able to be protected. But yeah, casemate tank destroyers in general are pretty bad within WarThunder, but I do think these two are very special to be added to the game just because they give a different type of experience from the ladder of what's already in the tech tree. So the next vehicle that I want to see added to WarThunder is actually a Chinese one, and it's a really funny Chinese one, and it's the WZ-141 prototype. If you've never heard of this vehicle, I don't blame you, and it's pretty not really documented whenever it comes to seeing some sources with it, especially whenever it comes to Chinese vehicles. You kind of just wander around the internet and you find some sketchy websites, and then you finally figure out what the tank is about. But this vehicle is actually two variants of it, and to be honest, I think instead of adding both of the variants of the prototype, what they should do is just combine both of them, and you're able to like pick which one you want within the upgrades of the vehicle itself. So this vehicle comes with two Type 75 recoilless rifles, and it also comes with ATGMs. So it comes with the HJ73, and these vehicles from the BMP-1 for the Chinese, which also have these missiles on top. Now the thing about this vehicle is I think it's a vehicle that's really cool to be added because it's a kind of vehicle we've not seen within WarThunder yet. We've seen recoilless rifled guns within WarThunder, but we've never seen any that have ATGMs on top of them. And I feel like this would be a pretty decent vehicle to actually add to that. So there is two prototypes of this version of the WZ-141, and that is one where it has the recoilless rifles. It has two of them, by the way, on one side of the tank, and then the prototype 1 has them on both sides of the tank. The thing is, they kind of realized whenever you put the recoilless rifle, since this thing's already super small anyway, that it had some issues with balancing out the turret, and sometimes when they're like on both sides of the tank, they kind of just missed a target because it's very hard to aim with them. them. So yeah, I think this would be a really cool thing to add. I think it should come in at probably battle rating 7.0, maybe 6.7, and it would be a nice thing to be added to the game to support either the Type 62. I mean, I'll be fine with that, or if it needs to be up to 7.0, 7.3, just because, you know, it's overperforming, maybe it can help the M48 and as well as help the BMP-1. I think both of those lineups really need some help within the Chinese tech tree, and this little vehicle I think can help them out a good bit. Now for a final tank that I think should be added to WarThunder, is actually a French light tank that was made in like the 50s and going into the 60s whenever it comes to tank development for France, and that is the ELC Even. So there's actually a couple variants of the ELC Even, and to be honest, I think all of them should be added. There's some that have ATGMs on it, there's some that have 30 millimeters, and there's also one that has a 90 millimeter cannon. I think these vehicles would be very nice for the French tech tree because we have a lot of, like, you know, issues within France. Like the ELC with the 30 mils can easily be the SPA before the DCA. You know, the 8.3 one with the radar probably be like 8.0, maybe 7.7, just because it has the same guns as the Falcon. The only really big difference around it is that it has like less ammo, but at the same time, we all know what the Falcon does every single game. It goes around and kills tanks. So I pretty much expect the ELC Even 30 to basically do the same thing as the Falcon, even though it's supposed to be an SPA. Now the ELC Even 90 I think would probably come in at a battle rating of maybe 6.7, just depending on, you know, how it goes, maybe 7.0, just depending, you know, how it goes, like I said. But it would be really cool. It's going to be an autoloader. It's going to be like the T114, and it should be pretty cool to be added to the game. You know, it is a very wonky design whenever it comes to tank development in general, but it's a vehicle that's actually stood the test of time. You can actually go see this vehicle today. You can see the 30, and I believe you can see the 2 prototypes of the 90. They're still in museums to this day, which I think is really cool, even though France never adopted these vehicles. So yeah, I hope these vehicles are something that is added to WarThunder very soon, and it would be very cool to be added to WarThunder. I think there's a lot of vehicles that need to be added. You know, we can even go into Dawg if you wanted to, the Dawg 2, but I think I'll save that for a different video because I think it is coming. The Dawg 2 is a vehicle that I think actually could come to WarThunder now, especially with the introduction of the big land ship for France last update and the F-16 update. So yeah, what do you guys think about WarThunder? What kind of tanks would you want to see added to the game? Is there anything that you disagree with this video? Would you rather see different types of vehicles at, you know, certain BRs, all that sort of stuff? And I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the next WarThunder video.